Damba Jumden de Shen Shaba Dajo Mayana Zobe Sanje Riba Shasun Damba Devarisha Jiden Jamba Jivon de Kana Juva Naname Pada Menam Jedamba Sanje Jumden de Beja Shaja Tuba La Chaza No Chudo Jasuja Damba Jumden de Shen Shaba Dajo Mayana Zobe Sanje Riba Shasun Damba Devarisha Jiden Jivon de Kana Juva Naname Hadam Benam Jedamba Sanje Jumden de Beja Shaja Tuba La Chaza No Chudo Jasuja Damba Jumden de Shen Shaba Dajo Mayana Besan Ribada Shazun Demban Devarisha Jiden Kema Jivon Kalonjuva Lana Meba Hada Men Jedama Sanje Jumden Beja Vashaja Tuba La Chaza No Chudo Jasuja Kanze Kanya Zoho Jedamse Sajen de Na Mane Jiden de Na Choja Zuwa de Zekia Vajuma Chaza Namda Gunga Chodo Susanwa Yishe Jazu Seje Gumbo Dama Jide Sumna Mame Gumbo Shonye Jona Chaza No Senjo Demba Chimenda Sendo Rawa Jona Chaza No Dure Jona Siva Samaj Nyame Jenshe Jona Chaza No Gumbo Tuji Jide Tamje Kembe Demba Bo Sonam Yuden Jazu Yishe Shana Chaza No Taben de Shachago Given Yason Ledre Jian Jido Denam Shoju Shinju Jona Chaza No Trene Treven Lavata La Rabdu Ne Shinga Tama Yedena Ya Chaza No Diva Chian Miches Yewa Bezon Soba Che Rangesim Tene Sanje Demba Yin Karma Rima Yuma Seva Chubrada Melum Lota Jeda Dijon Dedata Sonam Dia Tumjesi Kobantum Ne Jinjan Radu Dian Gada Nada Shiva Latu Siva Sonan Jovan Jovarisho
To the teacher,
the Blessed One, the one going beyond, the Four Destroyer, the
completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfecting knowledge and good conduct,
Sugata, the
all
Lord,
the world,
Supreme Guide brings to the
teacher
Teacher
of
of
gods and humans,
to you,
the
the
completely
completely
and fully awakened one,
the Blessed One, glorious Conqueror, the Subduer from the Shadow. I prostrate make offerings and go for refuge. To the Teacher, the Blessed One, the one going beyond, the Full Destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, the all the world, supreme guide of beings to attain, Teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened, the Blessed One, the glorious Conqueror, the Subduer from the Shadow. I prostrate make offerings to go for refuge. To the Teacher, the Blessed One, the one going beyond, the Full Destroyer,
the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, know all the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When supreme among humans you were born in this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then I prostrate. With your pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, to you I prostrate. Your supreme science, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds around, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior of great compassion, teacher of them all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtues which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realization, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community attending virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions,
Subdue
your mind thoroughly.
This is
This
the
is the teaching of the Buddha.
A star, mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream of flash, a lightning or cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from emotional suffering of aging, sickness, and death. Sanje Jodon Soje Shonama Chanju Padu Dane Jansu Nagin Soje Sonam Je Dola Pinche Sanje Rivers Sanje Jodon Soje Shonama Chanju Padu Dane Jansu Nagin Soje Sonam Je Dola Pinche Sanje Rivers Sanje Jodon Soje Shonama Chanju Padu Dane Jansu Nagin Soje Sonam Je Dola Pinche Sanje Rivers.
I go for refuge and time to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Tamje Mama Cha Zolon de Sanje Jumde de Adena de Shinshima Raju. Yahanda Banzobe Sanje Riva Dama Shazun de Devarishi Banji Dinkin Baji. Kalo Juba Nana Meva Hada Mena Judema Sanje Jumden de Eso. The Shinshima Dina Sonam Tabi Yutama Gevezawan Chimiz, Suver Rabde Gim. Sonam Jederanam Jishi Beja Sambanam Jedema. Chu Remba Tona Medium Tebe Meva Lobraga, Sheriff Sigi. Tomnava Zivameva, Simjatamji, Tomba, Chanju Simbanam Yap, Pave Kazana, Jevo, Yangana de Bertongela, Tebe, Ishabadam, Boba Samji, so Nabrata, Yanim, Kujata, Shomish, Kusuma Meva, Devata, Mago, Soda, Yevoma, Sumevata, Dungela number to Kumbata, number to Command, the Jason of Devana Machine, Yozo Donata, number to Sibala to Chule. Ishiyansu Zaba Devadama Devadama Jambata Tadaju, Sanje Jumde Ishila Ne, Yangela Devala Medeva Yandava Nija, Tala Sinjatanja, Siva Sama Shubat, Dedane Sanje Jumde Kushiva Yunda Yandava Namas, Tabejana Tomageva Padukeva, Tomageva, Tuyazava Sindusava Manjab, Yonzo Anzova, Yonzo Tava, Yonzo Chama, Yandava Toma, Nemeva, Tucheva Meva, Detovana to you. Kevanam Jesuzo Ragaji Wachi, Jimden Levasu, Chundu Walla Levato, Yabrachu, Zove Sanju, don't do what you want me to do, Devata, Temba Yuvajevo, Tevachimbe, the Levashu, Washu, Tobashu, Tembaji, Chaja, Vezo, Juvasona, Pages, Yuzo, Jimena, Kundon, Jimena, Juvachembo, Kangia, Tuzinia, Zona Tawatan, Japanisha, Tabachun, Kodam, Charles. Yeah, so we are all together on the third ground. Page 133. I think I last stopped here. This is present in the following. He who speaks of the exhausting the fruit of non-virtuous actions performed in the past, how can he bear to plant the seed of future pain by inflicting harm on others, being angry at them? So the contradictory to loathe was a future suffering, but retaliate against harm. So I think this is kind of, one who speak of exhausting the fruit of the non-virtuous actions performed in the past. So the present suffering
is the consequences of the past action that is being harm to others, right? And because of this present suffering, if you again retaliate or kind of inflicted harm on others, that is kind of planting the seed for the future pain. So kind of, we always, sometimes we think that, you have right to be angry and you just go and fight with the persons. So anything that discomfort, that unpleasant experience is due to the harming others. So which means when any comfort happens, try not to get angry, right? So consider this is so one of the kind of way of exhausting the negative consequences, so which has performed in the past. So I think here it's saying that there is no any way of thinking this is the right to be angry to anybody, right? In the monastic, in the rules, it says, do not hit even a pillar, right? Walls, tables, this is. So I think this kind of give you the habituations, the pounding on things, right? So still, even that is not harmful to others, but still is continuously harming yourself because of putting habit in you, kind of expressing that you're not happy. So monastic Vinaya texts, Kawala and Devar Mishavas, do not even hit on a pillar. Right? So now with respect to those great suffering inflicted by one's enemies and so on that injures one's body, who speak of his wish to exhaust the fruit of the non-virtuous actions performed in the past, such as taking a life, the consequences of which are this severe fruitional effect of the three lower realms, as well as encountering all the undesirable, causally concordant effects. How can he, such a person, bear once again to plant the seed of the future pain? How can he, by inflicting harm on others in relation, as a retaliations, and by being angry at them, with anger churning from his depth? So I think that's literally, for Tibetan sound, kong to. Kong means inside your body, something in the depth of your kind of, the coming out, right? So kong to. And then if you say there's a kong to is from the depth of your heart or inside, and a to means just without kong, to means belligerence. A to is belligerence. Just because some kind of discomfort or kind of something you feel not right, and then there's some kind of reactions, right? Sometimes by just a gesture, like sometimes you say that, right? So even there's no, you have no kind of, resentment to other, but simply being annoyed with gestures. So these are belligerents. So I think a long time I have mentioned this story around one of our elder monk who spent 32 years in a retreat. So he has gained a calm abiding, especially inside. So when he returned to the monastery, So every morning the people coming to visit him and get blessing. Sometimes he get annoyed and push people aside. So one day, me and some of my friends and visit him, and we just kind of talk. And then this young Rinpoche says, so we study from the text. So in order to generate or gain the calm abiding, especially inside, you should have abandoned all the desirums, afflictions. So you get angry sometimes. So how? And he says, this is not the anger, it's a belligerence, being annoyed. so anger is here use the churning, right, from his death. So something comes, right? Some kind of you have negative the imposition on that person, right? So you have projected some negative on that person, and every time you imagine that person, it comes with that negative characteristics, and then that person says something, and then you just burst out, and it's right. So that's called churning from the depth, right? Kongto. And belligerence is just sometimes even a mother towards the child, when child being naughty and mother. So belligerence can be, triggers by compassion and sense of caring. So that's, Rinpoche says it's not an anger, it's a belligerence.
So, excuse me, Geshe. So this kind of, what you're describing as belligerence of a mother who gets annoyed at her child, you seem to be connecting that with compassion, but at the same time it's still belligerence, and it sounds like, ultimately, will you want to uproot belligerence or not in all cases? It may, are you saying belligerence is sometimes not just understandable, but responsible to correct a child? Or is it totally something we should avoid?
So here, this main thing is, do not get angry, do not even spite on others. But here, the difference making here is, what is the difference of belligerence and anger? So belligerence can be triggered by compassion. Although it's negative actions, it can be kind of triggered by the trigger or driven by the compassion. And the anger is not just belligerence; it is totally kind of dislike. Right? Anger is the disliking. Right? So the both are negative, but one, there is some kind of part of that. In the causal part of that, there's some sense of caring, sense of responsible, but she has no idea how to fix that or how to correct the child, and she's simply being annoyed. Right. So being annoyed. So also, I said that before. Yeah, the anger is just standing or build it based on two things: negative projections and kind of unpleasant state of mind. With unpleasant state of mind and imposing negative characteristic on that person, then anger kind of being activated. And belligerence is not necessarily the imposing negative on other people. Right? So belligerence is simply from immediate kind of unpleasant or annoyed or irritations. And why you're irritated? And because this is my child. I have responsible, right? So I have to take care of it. So this is hard to subdue that children, right? So she's being annoyed from that. So you see anger and belligerence as there's a slightly different. So anger is more negative, and the belligerence not always is the kind of so negative consequences. So anger is on the two cosmic conditions. One cause is kind of an unpleasant state of mind, and another cause is you have already imposed on others with negative characteristics. Maybe you have kept that in your mind for months and years or days, right? So with this kind of negative, imposing negative characteristic on others, they're keeping in your mind, and when you imagine that person, they're kind of unpleasant, kind of uncomfortable. So the two things, like electricity, to and make the kind of spark, right? So with together, and then anger born. So here, what I'm saying that the difference between the anger and belligerence. So anger is more like a chiming from his death. Lead himself to misery that is greater even than what he currently experienced. So by kind of, with this anger and a harmful thought towards other, or with harsh word or anything, so this will bring the greater, even what you are currently experiencing. The currently simply annoyed, right? Or simply dislike that person. So there's some kind of discomfort there. So if you react on that, and it will plant the seed, that's the greater effect than the result that you experience already. So this would be illogical, say here, and retaliation or having resentment, or is if you think this is the way to react, this is the way to prevent the suffering. So retaliations, the resentment itself is the substantial cause for the suffering. Because you don't like suffering, therefore you want to plant sufferings, like almost like that's illogical thinking, right? I don't like, this is why I'm making it more. So therefore, just as one endures pain inflicted by the physicians, so that means now when you experience the discomfort or unpleasant experience, and you have to think that inflicted by the physicians, such as with a sharp needle to help cure illness, likewise to avert, right, limitless future suffering, it is most appropriate to have forbearance towards immediate minor suffering. So anytime there's a discomfort, small annoyingness, and at that time you have to apply the patience and experience, practice the forbearance right from the beginning when it just grow up, right before you grow up. So here, the importance of the patience. So the patient will kind of overcome even the suffering, and patient will prevent the greatest suffering in the future. So this is why the practicing patient is the best practice. So it is inappropriate to become angry because it destroys the virtues accumulated in the past over a long period. So not only that anger is destroying the present and the future, but it also have the power to destroy the accumulated the virtues they accumulated in the past for over a long time. So this is now he's saying the anger is not just producing the suffering in the present and the future. Anger is also destroying the virtue that you accumulated for the long time. So this has two parts. The points related to actual context and the point that emerge as aside considerations, the two things. The point related to the actual context, not only in intolerance, a cause casting has an unwelcome frictional effect into the future, it will also cause merit collect over a long period to diminish. This present in the following. So now they're talking about how the anger destroyed the virtues. Indeed, anger felt towards the conqueror's child, Bodhisattvas. Now it comes to Bodhisattvas. Destroyed in an instant the virtues gathered. By generosity, what are those virtues that can destroy by the anger? Saying then, generosity and morality over 100 years. Thus, there is no evil similar to intolerance. So no enemy can do that. So no enemy, no kind of any external cause can destroy your virtues. Only the anger, but anger that within you, your anger can destroy. Other people cannot destroy your virtues. Now, especially the anger towards the Bodhisattvas is more dangerous now. Indeed, for whatever reasons, either not ascertaining the object to be a Bodhisattvas or though ascertaining to be a Bodhisattvas, out of strong habituations to the afflictions, if a Bodhisattva's experience and anger felt even for an instant towards the conqueror's children. Now Bodhisattva's anger to Bodhisattvas, right? Who have generated the awakening mind based on the exaggerations, based on exaggerated projection of real or unreal fault. This alone destroyed the collection of the merit gathered over 100 years. So Bodhisattvas to the Bodhisattvas will destroy the virtue they gather from the 100 years. So ordinary kind of, the ordinary who anger towards the Bodhisattvas, 1,000 years the gather of the collection of the merit can be instantly destroyed. So, and then within the ordinary, angry towards the friends and angry towards mother. So the mother is more dangerous. Angry towards mother is more dangerous. So that's, I think I've told that, yeah, the consequences, they change by sometimes the object, the power of the object. Sometimes the consequences make it bigger by the motivations. So the action itself, like as kind of, the motivation and the, the object. So that really makes the that change the actions to powerful or not powerful. So I think here, yeah, out of the appreciations of the change. So and also out of the hateful mind, and or you are exaggerating on the faults that is actually happened with that person, and even the small one characteristic that is the define him as the bad person, or he did something mistake, and then you exaggerate that by exaggerating, making it bigger, more noticeable to the public, and by that again, it's a that's negative action out of anger will destroy the collections, and even that character is not fit in that person, you just make it up, right, in order to show how dislike you that person. So 100 collection of the merit gathered over 100 years, such as virtues derived from the habituation to the perfection of the generosity and the morality as described before. If this is so, what need is there to speak of non-Bodhisattvas experiencing anger towards the Bodhisattvas? Even the Bodhisattvas, that kind of destroyed all the merit they collected from the 100 years. So, and if that is the person who is angry is not Bodhisattvas and angry towards the Bodhisattvas. So therefore, just as the volume of water in the ocean cannot be measured with the scale, so it's kind of immeasurable kind of negative actions. The extent of the fruitional effect of being angry towards the Bodhisattva cannot be determined. Therefore, when it comes to propelling unwelcome consequences as its effect, when it comes to harming the virtues, there is no evil similar to the intolerance. So, namely, anger. In explanation of the commentary, the phrase exaggerated projections of real and unreal is explained as exaggerating the minor fault as a great fault. With respect to the destruction of the root of the virtues, manifestation of the Maitreya Sutra says, so now how they destroy anger, this now, the second is how discussing on the, how's that, what do you mean by destroy the virtues? Do you kind of totally, how's that, as a, the anger can destroy means all the virtues become non-existing, or the anger is destroying the fruit. Like, when you have a good plant, and then, so if you don't water, or if you let it kind of, dry, it will kind of destroy the fruit, right? So what you mean by is kind of, it's diminishing the result of the virtuous actions. By that you are saying anger is destroying the virtue, or anger is going to actually destroy the virtue itself. So then it says the Manjushris in this sutra says, Manjushris, what is called anger, anger. So in Tibetan words, it says toa, contour, belligerence and anger. Here you just say double anger, anger. It's named because it, verily destroy the virtues together over 100 years. Although it is not explicit in this sutras whether the object of anger, so the person who you are angry, and the person who is angry here are both bodhisattvas. In Chandrakirti's commentaries, both object and agent are, so what you're angry with and who is angry, described as a bodhisattvas. The compendium of the Sutra 2, just before citing the above passage from the manifestation of the Manjushri Sutra, quotes the following from the Maitreya Line Roll Sutra. If a bodhisattva were to berate or utter threats, berate means angry.
Kind of like to hound and annoy. Like
berate and utter threats. So one bodhisattva who is out of anger, threatening, beat all ordinary sentient beings within his billion-fold wall system, and with a whip and club, or with his fist. To that extent, the bodhisattvas would not suffer a wound or become injured by this. So they're saying that this is like, for example, in ordinary, if the mother get angry and she beats her children and whip, and she just push the children out throughout the house, just let him stay there in cold weather. So this not really going to destroy the mother's. This not going to destroy the mother's destroy her virtues, because out of care she is doing this. If the son will throw his mother outside, so then he is not only committing negative actions, he is destroying the virtues they gather from many years. Yeah. So in similar, the bodhisattvas bred and utter threats, beat all sentient beings, not only one sentient beings, he beat every sentient beings, right? They're it's the example. It's not going to, bodhisattvas would not suffer a wound or become injured by these actions. If, however, the bodhisattva were to engender the harmful intent, so enmity, right? Or a thought of hatred towards this single fellow bodhisattvas, this alone would inflict wound to that bodhisattvas and injure him. So now they're saying, because of the power of the object that you are angry with, right? So bodhisattva who angry and out of anger and beat and say a harsh word or punish, and that won't destroy his virtues as he get angry towards another bodhisattvas, right? So I think here they're saying that because the bodhisattvas is like have the strong compassion like mother towards the child for every sentient beings. So someone who has that much kind of, warm feeling or caring for every sentient beings, and not for one's life, who decided and determined to benefit continuously for the countless sentient beings. So when that person you're getting angry at, right? So your actions, even not really, there is no expression, verbal or physical, but having just intent or hatred towards that, so it will destroy the virtues. And during the Bodhisattva Munis, one of the arhat, we call crooked, right? So 500 lives he fall in hell realms, and then the different kind of realms, very suffer a lot, and in the last finally he was able to born as human being in a very, very poor family, but still can find the access to receiving teaching from the Buddha and it got arhat. So why he suffered all these 500 lives? Because he put his mother in the house and not letting her drink and eat. So she died with that because of the object. If he killed one person, he may not suffer like this, or two persons he killed. So because of the power of the object, he's saying that. So because he had such an act, not already forsaken omniscient. So the person you're getting angry, that person hasn't forsaken his bodhicitta. So that's why, because of his bodhicitta, you are angry towards that, your hatred towards that is become, powerful negative actions, right? So we destroy the virtues together from the 100 years.
The bodhicitta of the object of
Person, other person who that you are getting angry, right? So that person having the bodhicitta in her mind, and then you not necessary to beat him or say a harsh word, but just hate it towards that will destroy the other. So they kind of have a motherly compassion towards every sentient beings, right? So this is why you saw the Tara is emanation of the the pure state of wind elements of the Buddha. So every wind in the Buddhas move like motherly, so caring for others, right? The pure mothers manifest as a Tara. So the Chandrakirti's account of how both object and agent of the anger here are to be explained as the Bodhisattvas appear to be based upon this sutra passage. So Chandrakirti saying this is explicitly in the line is saying the Bodhisattvas towards another Bodhisattvas. But you can apply it to non-Bodhisattvas to the Bodhisattvas, right? And ordinary Bodhisattvas to the higher the someone who has gained the ground, first ground, the second ground Bodhisattvas. So if this is so, how does one understand the masters, Arya Sura and Shantideva's statement, such as the following about how anger destroyed the root of the virtues gather over 1,000 years. They gather over 1,000 years through giving, venerating, and venerating the Sugata and so on, like prostration, recitation, and generosity, the moralities, and the contemplations, all this merit, so it can be destroyed here. The virtue, those can be destroyed, is like that. Whatever good deeds there are, an instant of anger destroy all. So instant of anger destroy all, and that did not say instant of anger will destroy the virtues in instant. Right. So it's kind of like, like the insects, they eat things gradually. So, and then it will finish up, everything's being, disappear, right? So one anger is continuously eating up the virtues, right? So although some commentary on the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way state that single instant of anger towards the sentient beings destroy the virtues gathered over many thousand years, this is hard to believe. So Lama Tsongkaphas says, this is hard to believe. In any case, although these two masters do not specify the object and the agent, the object of anger that destroy the root of the virtue 100 or 1,000 years has to be a bodhisattva. So to the agent of such anger. So when you are bodhisattvas, maybe there's ordinary anger and bodhisattva anger is also a difference. Ordinary may destroy maybe 10 years virtues. Bodhisattva's anger is again more powerful, right? So yeah, as to the agent of such anger, the expressions great bodhisattvas being infer that it is bodhisattvas more advanced than the bodhisattvas who is object such anger. So that's a little bit kind of complicated. These are just simply following the text. We just relying on with belief. So there's no logic to prove it. So there's no inferential, the cognitive or cognitions to reveal that, right? So this has to be kind of rely on the text. It has to be someone who gain high knowledge, right? Because we say, so for objects divided into three, one is obvious object, that is even ordinary people can understand, and the second, the hidden object, that objects to revealing those objects through the logic and the reasonings. And then another extremely hidden object, this has to rely on someone who's who has high realizations, right? Has no reason to lie. So then we say he has no reason to lie, and he has this much kind of high realizations, and I just sit for a while, or I just follow. And then I continuously kind of examine and try to understand, right? Yeah, so the great Bodhisattva was the agent of the anger in this context is certain to be a Bodhisattva on the ordinary stage, while the object can be either one who has attained the ground or one who has not. So the following three was the permutations. Permutations. I don't know what's that. Permutations.
Permutation is the ways things can be combined.
Oh, okay. Following three permutations. Are possible the one here, more advanced Bodhisattvas being angry at less advanced. That's one. Second is less advanced Bodhisattvas being angry at more advanced ones. Number two. And number three, both object and agent of the anger have equal attainment. In the non-Bodhisattva's word, to become angry at Bodhisattva, it seems the virtues destroyed would be that of 1,000 years. So I think here is talking about advanced Bodhisattvas being angry at less advanced, maybe 100 years of the virtues they collected can be destroyed. And then the less advanced Bodhisattvas, like ordinary Bodhisattvas, getting angry at the first ground Bodhisattvas. Then this will destroy the virtues they gathered from the 1,000 years. So equal, so maybe there's 100 years of gathering of the virtues. In the first case, the virtue destroyers would be both, would be those of 100 years, right? Advanced, the less advanced. And if a non-Bodhisattva were to become angry, it seems the virtues destroyers would be that of the 100 years. As to how extensively the root of the virtue destroyed in the second and the third case, and how to understand this superiority and inferiority of the object in the context of the second example, this should be examined on the basis of scriptures. So we have to rely on the scriptures in this case. So how it's destroying and how much it destroys. So we have no clue, right? So the passage in the Maitreya Line Roar Sutras citations within this billion-fold world system up to the not injured by this explain how the Bodhisattvas who, on the basis of experiencing anger in his mind towards non-Bodhisattvas, verbally berate him and physically hit him as a different form of one who wounds the Bodhisattvas and injures Bodhisattvas. In the Milarepa to the Marpa to Milarepa, in the story it's very kind of, sometimes it's very scary. So there's almost a wrestling, these two masters. One time Marpa kind of lifted the Milarepa and just pounded on the ground. So he fainted. Still, there's no instant getting angry towards his teacher. So that's very unique of the Milarepa, right? Even someone who's slapped, we get angry, right? So he just kind of so in his life, even in a minute, he has any kind of resentment or anger towards his master. He always thinks, oh, I'm unfortunate. This is my fault. And Naropa to the Telopa. So Naropa is the great, logician and the philosopher, and he happened to be an abbot for years in the Nalanda University. So in his, he has the prophecy from the Dakinis. So he has to go leave the monastery and meet Telopa, and he will gain high realizations. So because of this prophecy from the Dakini, and he left the monastery and went to Teloba's place. So every time he thought, oh, this is a Teloba. So Teloba is like, beggar, looks like very poor and beggar, and there's no decent clothes to wear. And often he find Teloba always sitting at the river. In Dharamsala there's a river. So he catch the fish. On one hand there's a fire. He burned the fish and eating. So so you kind of trying to go closer to him, and there's some kind of, maybe it's not my teacher, it's maybe not. So yeah. And the one time, then finally, he sensed this is the Teloba. He's just playing some miracle. So one day, Naropa follows Teloba, and Teloba goes up in the mountain. And there's a cliff, very high cliff. And Teloba says, is there any, if there's my real student will jump from this cliff. And Naropa is just following that. Maybe he's talking about me, so I have to jump. He jumped, so break his leg and life, and then he just let him suffer for a while. And Teloba again comes. So Teloba says, what do you feel? And I feel terrible. So Naropa. So I'm almost sick, like dead. I'm dead body. And then he says, that's the, let the, he says, yeah. So he says that the world of the samsara uphold by the grasping self. Let the grasping self suffer for more. So, and he touched his head and just all heals his body. He was instantly it's cured. So he got some the confidence, oh, if I suffer, he will bless me. So again and again, he did that many times. So the second time or third time, then Teloba ignored him. So there's one story that one time Teloba saw there's a wedding. So there's the girl from another village that's getting married. And Teloba says, if you are my real student, just go and grab that girl bride. Right. Yeah. Put it in your shoulder, just bring it here. Oh so without any hesitation, he just went there and the wedding, grabbed the girl and put it in his shoulder, just run. So he got beat up all by public. So we laugh. So these are there's some harsh action towards the others and causing suffering, but all out of his compassion. So which means this is like mother who is trying to correct his children or purifies or give lessons. Because the Naropa was very, very a great philosopher and great masters. So he has some kind of pride in his mind. That he thought in the sutra that there is no sutta that he's not he did, as a he has no knowledge of it. So every sutra he can understand. He know all the sutras in his mind. There's some kind of the always there's some kind of pride. So one day the Dakini comes, shows many texts. Do you know about this? Do you know about this? He never saw this text. so that destroyed his pride. And then he kind of went to meet the Theluba. Yeah, from Dharamsala is almost 45 minutes, 50 minutes in the Theluba's village. So still the place called Tilopur. There's one Tibetan nunnery. They kept this some kind of what do you call this? In India the masala you just grind on,
like a mortar and pestle, like the thing you do to
mix up the things. So there's a one. It's a kind of stone made out of stone. There's sometimes he cook. So this nunnery kept this kind of in that they says this from the Telupas. So the Bodhisattva not received the prophecies necessary in such case to done. Experiencing anger in his mind towards the non-Bodhisattvas, verbally berate him, physically hit him, and is different from one who wound the Bodhisattvas and injures the Bodhisattvas. So destroying, injuring Bodhisattvas, wound Bodhisattva means destroying his virtues. Right? So he is not going to destroy his virtue by threatening the ordinary sentient beings, or beating out sentient beings, even not 1,000 sentient beings, but one instant hatred for one instant towards another Bodhisattvas. That's what destroy, wound him, injure him. Right? So this is saying because of the power of the object. So from this we cannot, from this we can understand that it is not necessary in such case to don armor once again from the start. So which means if this Bodhisattvas, like the path of accumulations, Bodhisattva path of accumulation, who happen to getting angry towards the Bodhisattva who is higher than him. So this will destroy the virtue, means now he has to work from the beginning. So he may be closer to be the second path. So he had to start from the scratch. So this means, So kind of here it defines the destroying the virtue is like that. He has to work from the beginning. So as the Bodhisattvas even in the contrast, that regarding the Bodhisattva who merely engender the anger towards another Bodhisattvas, even without any manifestations in body and speech. So not verbally, not physically, but just kind of, just simply mentally disliking or kind of harmful thought. It is said that he need to don armor for 1 year, equaling the number of the instant such a state of mind lasts. So how long, the minute, how it lasts. So that minutes he has to kind of, start from the beginning. So it seems that the object of such anger is a bodhisattva who has received the prophecy, and while the agent is bodhisattva who has not yet received the prophecy. So the prophecy is Lungden Toba means. Lungden Toba means how to explain? Prophecy means sometime like a bodhisattvas in the ordinary path, the path of preparations, can receive the prophecy, and even the first ground may not. So it's a kind of power of his convictions. So bodhisattvas who has the confidence of the convictions that because when you are in the path, there's many obstacles. Some obstacles manifest as a teacher, some manifest as friends, relatives. They may kind of cause distractions and disturbance in your path. So the Bodhisattva who receives the prophecy means, so this Bodhisattva cannot be distracted and disturbed by any form of the obstacles for his path. Right? So the prophecy means like that. So he is definite. He has the definite how's that? What do you call it? Convictions, right? So some bodhisattvas many times they give up the bodhisattva's vows, and then again they fall back, and then trying to generate the bodhicittas, and again go on the path, and something happened in his life, and then he thought, oh, I cannot complete this path, so rather I go and attain the arhat. Right? So this many times, and sometimes the short term they get distracted and disturbed by any form of obstacles. So in the Buddha Shakyamuni stories, just before Buddha got enlightened, there's the Maras, and trying to disturb or distract his meditation, right? So sometimes they form in the female, sometimes they kind of the many wrathful peoples who's trying to kind of distract him. So in the similar, sometimes you can see those like in the form of your friends, the relatives, and your masters, your teachers. So many things can be cause some kind of obstacles or misguide. So your firm convictions is the prophecies, is the kind of longden. So guide to the Bodhisattvas. Condensal perfection of the wisdom state. If a Bodhisattva who has not yet received the prophecy feels anger and initiate dispute with one who has received it, he must don an armor for as many years at the moment of his flawed mind of as enmity. So kind of if your anger or hatred towards the Bodhisattvas remain for 5 minutes, within the 5 minutes, how many each minute has 60 seconds, right? So like almost like 5 years of the merit can be destroyed. Which means again and again saying the anger is very bad. Right? Anger is bad for present, for future, for physical, for friend relations. So the anger is bad for the sleepings. Anger is bad for the digestions. So anger is bad for look, right? When you get angry, you look not good. So every form, the anger is the ultimate, the enemy. So there is no non-virtue that is greater than the angers. There is no virtues better than the patience. The patience is the best. The need to don the armor once again from the start means the following. Says Bodhisattva is able to progress soon from the great stage of path of accumulation to the path of preparations. So were he to become angry at fellow Bodhisattvas who has received the prophecy, then equal to the number of the instant he experienced such anger. For that many years, he will not be able to advance to the path of preparations. So, for example, myself, path of accumulations, then I get angry to the higher bodhisattvas. So, maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes, strong hatred towards that. So, the 5 years, I could not really pass this path. So which means here is, the saying that the way destroying is like delaying the result. Right? It's not like totally making non-existing. It's a fruit with destroying. Accumulations, path preparations, were he to become angry at the follow Bodhisattva to receive the prophecy, an equal number of the instants experience anger. For that many years, he will not be able to advance the path of the preparations. He will instead need to train on the path once again. So that's very difficult. Yeah. Again, he has to go back to the last line. So he was almost there, so close to the counter. Now he has to go back to the. So he will, so Guide to the Bodhisattva says, if towards the Bodhisattva who is great benefactors, so great benefactors, Jinda Chimu, right? So great benefactors means because of his bodhicitta, so he is the great benefactors, means his mind, speech and body are dedicated for the sentient beings, therefore the great benefactors. One were to engender the thought of ill will, for 1 yen equal to the instance such ill will arose, he will reside in the hell. So the sage said. So ordinary people getting angry to the Bodhisattvas will send you up to the hell realm for for a long, long time. So that means Bodhisattvas, if you are Bodhisattvas, or if you are generating Bodhisattvas, and also you have to be very cautious to not make any kind of, not create any bad impression on you from the people, because it may harmful to the others. So the Bodhisattvas, there's some, and then there says the any rumors, the bad rumors, Bodhisattva always be careful about bad rumors. Don't create any bad rumors. If you create that, even you did not do, and the way of your doing, saying, and somehow it creates the bad rumors, and people create negative characteristic, kind of projection on you, so they may go on held up. So here it is the state that equal to the instant of anger of thought that one has engendered towards the Bodhisattvas. For the corresponding number of eons, one will remain in the hells. There is also the ill consequence of destroying the root of the virtues gathered over many years. Now, if someone has not received the prophecy, were to experience anger towards the Bodhisattvas who has received it, he will remain in the hell. So this is just as mentioned in the immediately preceding past. So even the Bodhisattvas, so Buddha Shakyamuni and the Jataka stories, many times Buddha has to go to the hell room. So one time there's a story of the Buddha, is the Bodhisattvas, and a great scholar, and then he has to debate with his kind of opponents. All these opponents are the Arhat, the great, highly realized. So now he has to go with publicly and then debate with them. And because he always known as the great debater, and his mother says, you cannot be defeated in this debate. So I'm telling you, if you come back with defeated, so I will not accept. So, and then mother says, so just go before you start debate, just give them each nickname. So his mother told him, just go before you start debate, just give a nickname, bad nickname, and publicly laugh, and you will be, you will get the victory. So he did that, and then because of the people who are there are Arhat, so therefore Buddha, the next life he has to go to the hell realm. So So once the hell realms like bouncing like hell realms is because of the he kills the captain. So it just maybe a short period for maybe few minutes or hours in the hell realm, and then he come back. So, but at the same time, he has cultivated the 8 eons of the merit, right? Because he did that, although his action is negative, but the result that he saved 500, and he saved the captain himself to committing the crime. And so just because of negative actions, the killing human being, so he kind of bounced in hell realms. Right? So now the karma has no compassion. Karma did not, doesn't care about you are Bodhisattva or you are king or you are right ordinary people. This is like, no one's above the law. So yeah, if towards the here is a state that equal to the instant of angry thoughts has to be engendered towards the Bodhisattva for the corresponding number of years will remain in held-ons. There is also ill consequence of destroying the root of the virtues gathered over many years. Now, someone who has received the prophecies were to experience anger towards the Bodhisattvas who has received it. He will remain in hell. This just are mentioned in the immediate preceding past. So there is also instant where the Bodhisattvas will have to don the armor of a number of years, Koshagrovas. So armor means, yeah. So it's kind of like, through the practice of the generosities and morality, patience, the concentrations, listening, the contemplations is armoring yourself, making it more powerful. So this anger will destroy your armors. Other cannot destroy. Right? So then you have to go back from the beginning and then again, cultivate those the virtues, the virtues armor from the start. So yeah, gathering there's two cases. The gathering fragment sutras state that if one accrues the karma of abandoning, yeah. So when you happen to be committing the negative karma, abandoning dharma, one will have to declare to purify these defects 3 times every single day for up to 7 years to purity its fruitional effect, but not obtain the forbearance level of path of preparations. So this is also goes with the story with Vasubandhu and his brother, Asanga. So Asanga happened to be a Bodhisattva, and he he composed many Mahayana texts. So the Vasubandhu always have some kind of reserve. So he always thinks that there's no Mahayana, such Mahayanas. But Mahayana is not teachings of the Buddha. So he always, there's some kind of, what do you call? He keep himself distance from the Mahayana sutras. So he never liked those Mahayanas. So he sarcastically, many times, talks about the Mahayana, and then Mahayana is not the kind of Buddha's teaching. And Asanga they find a way to convince him. So Mahayana is the teaching of the Buddha, and Buddha taught the Mahayana. And then he have some monk to recite slowly the Mahayana Sutra, right? Very close by where he lived. And Vasubandhu was a very intelligent, very great scholar. He just kept listening to what his text say. He was kind of like attracted to that. He find interest in the Mahayana. And the first he talked about the benefit of the Mahayana, and then is the path, how one's the accumulating the paths to Mahayana. And he said, path is good, results good. And then how the Mahayana understand about realities. And all of them are very fascinating. and they're all logic, kind of, reasonable. And he's kind of, he start to kind of, studying the Mahayana, and he generates the kind of best of his realizations. So he was very regret that he did many times he criticized the Mahayana. And even he criticized his brothers, says, my brothers live in a cave for years and years, and nothing but he saw the pigeon. So he always said that. So, yeah, and then he kind of, tried to reach his brother and said, can you give me some teaching about the Mahayana? So Asanga started teaching him Mahayana. So that there are many, one of the commentary on Prajnaparamita Sutra by Vasubandhu. Yeah. So then the Vasubandhu says, now I'm quite sure that you are kind of, you have the direct vision of the Maitreya Buddha. So can I have kind of, have this kind of same vision that I can see him? And Asanga says, let me ask the Maitreya. And the Maitreya Buddha says, not in this life. So Maitreya Buddha, because he criticized, that's called the act of abandoning Dharma. So act of abandoning Dharma is like if people who follow the Mahayana and saying, oh, Hinayanas, it's just kind of, Hinayana is not valuable. So that is also abandoning the Dharma. And the Hinayanas, the Mahayana is not good and not, not taught by the Buddha, is abandoning Dharma. So, yeah, sometimes you do that emotionally. We have no knowledge. Like, for example, follow the Gelupa. We have no knowledge about what teaches in the Kagyu traditions, right? And simply says, oh, I'm Gelupa, Kagyu is not good. So these are kind of like idea towards that abandoning Dharma.
This is abandoning Dharma is not just a mental moment thing, but it's actually physically you actually don't.
Yeah. So you have some kind of, you have no good impression, right, on the other side of the traditions. So this is called abandoning Dharma. So which means to practice Dharma means if you really have revealed the reality of the Dharma, that really includes everything. This is like, the honeybee, right? They don't discriminate on the flowers. They only need the nectars. The big flower or small flower or the yellow flower or white flower or the red flower, doesn't care. So that the people who understand the dharmas, they appreciate all the good advice or good kind of good things. So we have to be like a honeybee. Larry honeybee, May honeybee, Mary and honeybee, honeybee. We all have tried to follow honeybee. So yeah, stick to the Dharma, which that combine or that gathers all the good things, right? So if you just kind of study about what is that culture, what is this tradition, what is that tradition, who is that master, you're just looking up the address, right? And then you see, oh, these are different, right? My address, his address is different. So I don't like others' address. I like my address. So if you follow the address and then you find everything is just fallen apart, right? If you try to get the essence and everything gathers, everything combines. So abandoning Dharma is the one with the very powerful negative things. Yeah, abandoning dharmas. The years, the purity, the fruition effects, but to obtain, so even you confess to purify the negative, it can only if you can only destroy the effect. So you can only destroy by abandoning Dharma. You may born in where there is no name of Dharma, right? There is no totally absence to get the access receiving the Dharma, right? So you can, by confessions, purifications can be overcome or destroy the negative consequences, but, right? So, but it cannot fix in the path. So you will, yeah, even you have destroyed the negative consequences, but you have the start gathering the path from the beginning. Right. So the obtaining forbearance is seva. Yeah. Chola seva means gaining, is the forbearance here is referred to the convictions. So you have to, again, you have to gain conviction, the level of paths, preparations, would require 10 years, even it was swift, as this state, purifying and cultivating the resolve in all possible ways, may not rectify the delaying of the path, but it will claim the fruitional effect of the karma. So it will destroy the negative consequences, but it won't fix the fix the path. So you have to go from the beginning. So we must strive in dams. So we must strive in dams, the patient now. We must practice. The point emerged from the side considerations. There are instances where both object and agent are not bodhisattvas, yet when the agent is experienced, it destroys the root of the virtue. This is, for example, they explain in the following text from the Sarvastivada school. What's the combined name of training, Sarvastiva? Number of times do this is called Sarvastiva. So there's a Tibetan, we follow the traditions of the monastic vows at this school. Tamje Yama, in Tibetan we call Tamje Yama. And the Thailand and Sri Lanka we call Nedendeva. Right. So different there's traditions, different traditions. So Tamje Yama within the Buddhist follows the Buddha. So the root of this tradition comes from the Buddha's son, Rahu, from that tradition, Sarvastika, Tamje Yama. And then the Vinayas monastic rules, the tradition. There's the 4 type of the kind of lineage, and then that divided in the 18. So because it changed by the place and the languages, so language changed the traditions. Right? So here this is the Sarvastivada school. So this the Tibetan Buddhists follow this, cited in the compendium of the training. So in this sutra says a monk. Look at the monk who prostrate with his entire body to a reliquary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Containing the hair and nails, and purified his thought. Monks, this is excellent, O monk. This monk will enjoy the kingdom of universal monarch, the thousandfolds corresponding to the number of the grains of sand that exist between the surface of the earth and his body covered down to the golden base that lies at a depth of the kind of 80,000, what's that? Yojana, and then Yojana. So this is like Gelba, a generation, or I don't know how to this English. Gelba is the what's the English word for that? Gesi Tongjudo, Kolojubi Gesi, Tongjudo Monjubajo. So I think like 1,000 times the kingdom of universal monarch, 1,000 times. Just simply one prostrations. So right. So now this is how we are accumulating the merits, but all destroyed for one anger, right? So we have anti-virtue and virtues both working together. So then this palm, and then with his palm fold, Upali, so one of the monk, Upali with palm fold, approach where the blessed one was and ask, if the blessed one speak of how great the root of the virtue of this monk is, how does such root of the virtue come to diminish, thoroughly purged, and completely exhaust? So this is saying diminish, thoroughly purge, complete exhaust. So the way the destroying is, are you mean diminishing and reducing it by that you're saying destroying the virtue? Or is kind of reduced to the kind of almost the kind of the final? Or it destroy completely, not exist at all. So then Buddha said, O Upali, replied the Buddha, O Upali, Buddha says, I have seen nothing comparable to inflicting the wound on the causing injury to those who are engaged in the practice of the pure conduct. So who has received monastic vows from the Buddha and the senior monks, and then keeping them more pure and always follow the monastic rules. So causing injury onto them. Upali, this will thin out. First, thin out. So that means diminishing, thin out. and thoroughly purge, so reducing, and completely exhaust that great root of the virtues. Therefore, Upali, if one should not harbor as a malevolent, yeah. So it's kind of hatred,
Yeah.
a strong kind of dislike, right? Thought even towards a log. So then now is it right? So even out of anger, you just hit on the wall or the table, or kind of break the cup or plates, right? So this will destroy the virtues. So what need is to speak of harboring has a malevolent thoughts toward body imbued with consciousness. So if the anger towards the thing can destroy the virtue, and how it is not really, it is, it's, yeah, no questions when you get angry to the person who has consciousness, person with consciousness. And then there's no question the greater damaging when angry towards one who kind of holds the moral conduct. And then again, the greater who has already attained arhat. And that again continues to bigger and greater, more, the greater and greater by angry towards the Bodhisattvas and the first ground and Buddha, like that. Even small things in the table getting angry can destroy. So this is what Buddha said. So which means diminishing, kind of thoroughly purged, and completely exhaust. Thinning out refers, for example, to turning root of the virtue that was great when generated into a similar one. What was long when generated into the shorter one. So it's thinner, make it smaller, right? And so on. This is the weaker form of exhaustions. So diminishing, thoroughly purged is a weaker form of exhaustions, not completely disappearing or destroyed, as it does not destroy the effect entirely, but it appears that purging referred to medium level of exhaustions, while complete exhaustions refer to the great degree of exhaustions. In the Moon Lamp Sutra, the cited in the Companion Sutra, one reads, "He who acts towards those around him with harmful thoughts, he will not be protected by moral discipline, study. He will not be protected by the meditations and solitude, nor he will be protected by giving and venerating Buddha." So I think the continues the sharing the anger, how dangerous it is. So just by anger is, right, when the anger is kind of, overpowered on you, your study will not work, your morality is not going to benefit, your practice of generosity is not kind of, not going to bring any good. Even doing puja, venerating Buddha. So this, this is like, so I think this is now the opposite side of that anger is patience. When the patience is there, everything works, right? Your study work more kind of, and more benefit start benefiting to you. Your puja venerating the Buddhas, and your generosity is, and start to bringing the benefit to yourself in this life and next life, and your moralities kind of beautify yourself, and your all these good actions will be very successful with patience. The opposite is anger. Anger is is not friendly with all good things. So now here, all of them is saying that the destroying the virtue here, that's diminishing is the destroying. If you're just diminishing, destroying, it's not really totally exhausting the virtue that you accumulated, but it's simply delaying the result, or it will kind of make non-existing of the result. Right? It won't. The virtues, they're not going to bring any good result. So in this way, they're destroying the destroying the virtue here. But the lokte gezachoma means lokta means the wrong view, right? Wrong view. So wrong view has the power to destroy the root of the virtues. Right? Anger can only delay and diminish the result, right? It will destroy the fruit, but not going to destroy the virtue itself. Right? The wrong view can't destroy the virtues. So now the virtues, those referring to those through the practice of generosity, morality, and then all these recitations, meditation, prostrations, like that, those kind of virtues. Now, it's never said that anger is going to destroy the virtue of the realization of emptiness. The wisdom cannot be destroyed. Anger, right? So no wrong view can destroy the right view, because the right view is the antidote of the wrong view. Wrong view is never become the antidote, remedy of the right view.
Yes, just to confirm, so the wrong view cannot destroy the wisdom, the realization.
Because when there's a right view, the wrong view has no space.
Right. But it can destroy other virtues.
Yeah, it can destroy other virtues. Now, there is no such thing, any negation, negative emotional or negative thought that has the power to destroy the wisdom realizing emptiness. But you see, you can also understand that if any negative emotional and the wrong view has the power to destroy the wisdom realizing emptiness, but when the anger destroys the virtues of the generosity, so if you have the power of the realization emptiness, so if no result of the beneficial from any virtuous action to you, how can you complete the meditations? How can you complete the the flourishing, the wisdom? Right? Your wisdom is need food. Your wisdom is need shelter. Your wisdom to complete need the friends, the relations. Right? If there is no these conditions, who can sustain the practice of the wisdom? So yeah, it's almost like you're going to make the wisdom like cutting all the limbs. So wisdom by itself is just sitting there. No hand, no legs, just sitting there. So that's why the anger is very, very kind of, dangerous here. So here those around refer to fellow monasteries that he cannot be protected by the 6 factors, such as moral discipline, means that for him, the destruction of the root of the virtue by anger cannot be averted. Destruction of the root of the virtue by anger cannot be averted. As to what specific root of the virtue come to be destroyed, this is not explicitly stated in the sutra cited above. However, the guide to the Bodhisattvas explained to those of generosity, the venerating, the Sugata, and so on, like the recitations, prostrations, or offerings. While entering the middle way, explained that those of the generosity and moral discipline, since Chandrakirti commentaries speak of the collection of the merit. So collection of the merit, talk they call it. So 2 collection, the collection of the merit, collection of wisdom. So collection of merit part is going to diminish or purge or kind of exhaustions by kind of negative emotions like such angers and the wrong view. Chandrakirti commentaries speak of the collection of merit. It seems that this does not refer to the root of the virtue, the consisting in the collection of the realization of the selflessness. So, do examine these questions further, however. So, any of those virtues that count to be destroyed by the anger, they never mention about the kind of wisdom, the kind of, wisdom, the realization of emptiness. Because they always says anger can be destroyed or diminish the collection of the merit, not the collection of the wisdom. Yeah, any questions? Going to drink this. I think altogether, the anger, to be, what's that? Anger and belligerence is 2 different things. The anger is from the depth, some kind of disliking, right? And from the, in your mind, you have already projected negative characteristic on someone or things. And with that, and then sudden unpleasant experience. So 2 things connected and generate the angers. So then now this anger is continuously destroying the virtues that collected, like from the generosity, morality, offering, right? So this, the recitations, prostrations, meditations. So all this virtue can be either kind of the, gradually kind of eating up, or kind of destroy the result, right? A good result. But anger is not going to make total exhaustions of the virtues, the root of the virtue that, but it will just make it non-functional. So this saying now, you are, that we are able to gather many collections of the merit through recitations, prostrations, even the one prostration towards the Buddha, the relic of the Buddha, and you are going to accumulate the merit like 1,000 times monarch in the universal. Right? So this much you have accumulated to gather the merits. Now, one instant of the anger towards the Bodhisattvas will totally destroy all this merit. So even the sutra says, don't try to get angry even for a log. So anger is very bad. That's why I get angry all the time. So being annoyed is also annoyed, irritated, some people have a habit. They say, oh, not good today. It's not. If you make this habit in your mind, so this will building up the foundation for the constant anger. It's the fuel that feeding up the anger. Yeah. I remember in the monastery, the one, he has the habit, there's one monk, now he is no longer in the monastery. So I find he's a very interesting person. But every time when he come out of his room, he said, what a boring, what a boring, that's his habit. So if you say it many times, oh, what a boring, what unpleasant, what is that, right? So just continuously it's building up the discomfort, the unpleasant. So when there's more unpleasant and discomfort in your mind, this become the feeding up your mind to generate the angers. So in the Mahayana, one of the Mahayana paths is try to be happy all the time. Right? Make yourself happy, make yourself satisfied. Find a way to make yourself joyful and happy. Right? Instead of getting angry, annoying, complaining, and that you always focus on trying to find yourself to be happy and joyful. So joyful and being peaceful and happy is the is the best practice to prevent negative things, to prevent negative emotions, and to sustain or to enhancing your knowledge, enhancing your good qualities. So being happy is the the essence. So which means to be happy, to be joyful, and try to find a way to remove all this unpleasant experience. Which means don't try to project negative characteristic on other or things, right? So I think the best way to prevent anger is don't project negative on the things or someone. So by reducing that, and there is the more chances to be happy. Because not happy is not because of your air, not because of your moistures, not because of the weather, but because of your projections, negative projections. So that's why, and Bodhisattvas, the best way to keep their mind peaceful, joyful is that any good things happen, good news, good food, good kind of flowers, the environment, whatever they see, they always think, I wish every sentient being have this kind of conditions. So every time they are always sentient beings. When they get headache, there's back pain, and then some kind of the unfortunate things happen with their life. And Bodhisattva always thinks, so I wish every sentient being free from this type of the unhappiness. So it's always connected to sentient beings, right? So, and then there's a when you're happy, dedicate all this happiness, the cause of the happiness, to extend to reach every sentient beings. So when you're happy, therefore, whole space in this universe will filled with happy and joy. So when you are not happy, when you are in a suffering, and and think about all type of suffering that is happening in this particular suffering that I'm experiencing. Therefore, every sentient being free from the suffering because of all the suffering that I experience. So and then there's a the ocean of suffering kind of you wish or you pray that ocean of suffering will dry it up by my own experience. So this is the Bodhisattva way to keep their mind always joyful and satisfied. So another kind of Bodhisattva's the technique to keep the happiness joyful and make young things look far. Right? Look far means aim high, make young things, and be open-minded, right? Aim high and open heart, and be flexible. So that's the Bodhisattva's thinking, right? So aim high means your aim is all the kind of the qualities and ranking and good qualities, right? And then you want all of them, and you want the enlightenment, the final enlightenment being for the sake of all sentient beings. So kind of aim high means this, right? And to aim high, not only that aim high is going to make you happy, but you can also, all the arrogant people's kind of, pride, they also aim high, right? So now, open heart. You need to kind of widely open your heart to accept everybody, right? And as a result, and then with that, be flexible, the intellectual thinking, right? Exercise. So the be flexible, open-hearted, and aim high. So this is the kind of to keep your mind more happy and more peaceful. So when you are happy, and then you have pretty much kind of prevents the possibility of annoyingness and then dislikings. When you're very happy, someone hit on your shoulder, says, "Oh, it's okay." So when you're not happy, if someone touches you, why? You get angry, right? So it's kind of like that. So the Yidin Bashi, always, Bodhisattva is Bodhisattvas are able to find a way to, even in the samsara, even that they do not have high realizations, they have the technique to keep their mind, more joyful for all time. So by this is kind of, and there's a one of the so one of the master, and his motivation for every morning. This is so morning when he wakes up and he has to go and with breakfast and eating and wearing clothing, and then cleaning up the house. They all before he start doing things in the bed. He thinks, although my body, speech, and the collection of all the merit are dedicated for all sentient beings, but to to fulfill my paths. So the saying, please let me allow to use my kitchen to make breakfast for my preparation for benefiting other sentient beings. When they wear clothes, this is, although I dedicated everything for the sentient beings by wearing this cloth, so may I be able to benefit other sentient beings. Yeah, some kind of, there's the, it's not really kind of physically is benefiting, or the right away is not benefiting, but it is very helpful for oneself to not to generate any negative thoughts towards others. So sometimes when you wear kind of the expensive watch, or having the iPhone 13 or 12, sometimes when you have it, you think, oh, he doesn't have it, I have it. So right. So when you have motivated yourself, I think everything I'm going to use to benefit others, you never kind of think that, right, you are superior than others by having iPhone or watches. So these negative projections on the others, right? I have it, he doesn't have it. So he's kind of better, he's not good, or he's better than me, like something like these are like opening that kind of the avenue for a different way to generating an unpleasant state of mind. So kun nas be shigu, the 9 kind of the origin of the origin or the source of generating anger. Like this, he has, or this person, or had suffer on me, right? And he is causing suffering to me. He will be, right? And he had caused suffer to my relatives, friend. He is causing suffering. He will be, and he is going to benefit. My enemy is benefiting. He will be, or he might be. So this kind of negative the characteristics that you are constantly projecting on others. So these are the kind of the this like it's a substantial cause which always brings some kind of imbalance, unhappy state of mind. So with that unhappy state of mind, and then so anger has a perfect place to function. So any other questions? It looks like Larry has inside he has a promise now From now on, not going to angry with me.
I'm much better than I used to be. I think so. Because I think I probably accumulated so many mountains of negative. I'll probably be in the hells for eons and eons.
So eons is God. Eons is okay. Meons is very bad. So many times meons. Eons and mirrors and more. So I think this is the kind of, they find a way to prevent this negative projection on others. Sometimes it seems the right thought. Sometimes it's the it's reasonable. But if it is reasonable and supposed to be good, if it is good, first it has to be good for you, right? If something's not, you find is not good for you, how can that be good for everybody? Right? So we call the what's that? Ripatana. Ripatana means kind of like sometimes they terms the facsimilar, the valid. What is the opposite of the valid?
Invalid.
Invalid. Sometimes it invalid, but it seems reasonable. So this is called ripatana.
Like in a debate where an argument seems like it makes sense.
Yeah, it seems it's making sense, but not really, it's not really the valid reasoning. But it seems to be kind of, perfectly making sense to you. So in Dharmakirti's text, one of the example is saying, if someone says, this apple tree, so this fruit, the apple on this tree must be sweet because yesterday I grabbed one of the apple, is the same color, same shape, that is sweet. It seems it's kind of, making sense to you, but it's not really, it won't really kind of make the other apples from that tree sweet. So it seems kind of logic, but it's not the valid kind of reasoning. Sometimes we bring the seed. It says, "Oh, I have this particular seed. This is going to give rise the perfect sprout, because one of my friends bought this seed and she has planted and has a very good tree." So these seems very kind of reasonable. So you cannot perfect that, because this particular seed, and you're comparing that one seed that succeeds in becoming tree, and comparing with this seed in order to give the good tree has to kind of change under the many corporate conditions. So you cannot really predict or kind of making sure of this, because that seed has to test it, right? And when under all the corporate conditions and successfully become the tree right now and continue giving the fruit. Now this is right now seed. Now you can say, oh, this man is highly educated, so his son should be, right, has potential to So like that, because his father is very good. You cannot just, right. Sometimes people, when they say this, people think, oh, this is really kind of perfectly making sense.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of, what called, we call Tinsi Tarna, facsimile or something like, yeah. So it seems kind of correct, kind of logic, but it's not the kind of, the perfect reasoning. So this kind of, many times they use by these politicians, to confuse, to convince people. So everybody says, "Oh wow, that's really making sense to us."
Yeah, but not always reasonable. Sometimes it's mutual feel reasonable. Sometimes it's one person feel reasonable, the other person feels just completely ridiculous.
So the valid and the seemed valid, two things. Right. So yeah, sometimes when you think or when you get angry, when you have some kind of hatreds or disliking the persons, and then you thought, oh, maybe, yeah, I have a completely right to express my anger toward that person. So why do you think you have completely right to express my anger toward the persons? Is that because you are just under the pressure of this anger? Right? So now this is not really kind of, here, because you are showing, you are kind of expressing that disliking towards the person because he has said or did something that's being kind of, being harmful to you. By remembering that he has caused harm to me, and therefore, right, and you think it is completely right to react negative on others. So the Chandrakirti is saying, because you do not like the suffering that caused by others, and why you are liking to plant the seed, the suffering, that coming back to you. So these are kind of, perfect logic, and it seems valid reasoning. Seems valid reasoning is because you are 100% overpowered by this disliking towards the person, and therefore you feel this is the kind of, there's 100% house there. You have a 100% right to react. This is the anger is saying to it, not the kind of, not yourself. So sometime in the mundanely, how you kind of, how you determine in the mundanely, and then kind of, in the reality, the mundanely people think always if someone did something bad to you and you say, oh, you go and just kind of say things back to him. You have right. Well, I'm so I will kind of back up you. So the mundane thinks this is okay. That's the kind of, yes, normal. So this is all about who is pursuing the path to generate the super mundane's knowledge. So go beyond the mundane. If you just kind of know things according to the mundanes, then yes, you can say you have right to be angry, you have right to retaliate, right? Because you haven't thought about anything that beyond the mundane. Yeah.
It seems, because I see a hand up, it could be coming from YouTube, I'm not sure. It seems someone has a question because there's a palm.
So the computer is a smart kind of device, but it's not smart enough to by saying this. Computer thought that I move my hands, so there's someone is having questions. So now all the smart in the device, not in the people who televisions become smart, and the phones become smart, computers become smart. Anyway, okay. Chanju semjo rinpoche, ma jeba na jeju, jeba nyamba meba nya, kone kondo pewarsha, tonye tawa rinpoche, ma jeba na jeju, jeba nyamba meba nya, kone kondo pewarsha, pama simjen tamje, dedan denju, nyenro tamje tado tongwa, chanju semma kama sushu be, teda kunje, molum jubju ruchi, karera wego be, shengazo, pendan dewa manu jowe ne, jeren songwa tinzin jazo yesha be, side bado denju ruchi.
May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May the born have no decline, but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May the born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness. And may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are Bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Trinity Tathāgata, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you very much.